Okay.
Greetings, everyone. This is welcome to the Racial and Social Equity Standing Committee meeting for ANC 3 and 4G. This is our last meeting for the summer. And we have us go around and introduce ourselves first. I'm Cal. I started with the original task force on racism that started, I think, this month, 5 years ago, and then transformed into the standing committee. Maria, why don't you go next?
Hello, my name's Maria Sims, and I didn't start with the original group, but I've been since they had the committee. So I've been here how long now, Cal? 5 years now?
4.5.
4.5?
Yep. Commissioners, you wanna, no matter what order we go in.
Ladies first.
I'll just go. Hi, I'm Liz Nagy. I'm commissioner in ANC 34G SMD 07.
Carol?
You're on mute, Carol.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Carol Grunwald, ANC 34G 03.
And I'm Bruce Sherman in single member district 02, which for those who might not know is bordered on the south by Military Road, on the east by Oregon Avenue, on the west by Utah, on the north sort of by Tennyson, but it extends up into the Unicorn Lane and Oregon Knolls neighborhoods or little divisions there. So that's my territory. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks. Brian, why don't you go next?
Cal, let me introduce myself real quick. Commissioner Lisa Gore. Hi, everybody. I'll be behind the scene tonight. Thanks for coming.
Sure. Great. Welcome, everybody. Brian?
Thanks, Cal. I'm going to be behind the scenes as well, but I did put forward a comment to you, Cal. You know, I've started a petition at change.org to honor, expand Julian Bond's memorial at the Chevy Chase Community Center and Library. Julian Bond was a seminal part of the civil rights movement and a 26-year resident of Ward 3 and Chevy Chase. And I don't know that everybody knows that and knows that his last chapter when he was president of the NAACP during the Obama administration, I don't know that all that history is well known to this group. And I'm kind of curious, you know, when I first met Corinthia Simmons and she told me that she didn't really know the neighborhood, she wasn't from around here, she didn't know her neighbors very well. She's obviously gotten to know them since she moved here, but I'm wondering how well everybody else knows Julian Bond's legacy at the community.
Sorry, your voice faded out again. You were wondering
Okay.
What was the last part?
I'm just wondering how well everybody knows the story of Julian Bond in Chevy Chase.
Yep. I think I forget who it was in the last meeting that was going to be working with you or reaching out to you to talk to you about this. Unfortunately, we can't make any decisions tonight because we don't have a quorum. And it looks like it's turning into an ANC meeting because we have 5 commissioners out of 7. Welcome, Laura. It's not on the agenda tonight, Brian, and that may be the reason.
Fine, Cal.
We don't have enough people to do it. Laura, you want to introduce yourself? Laura?
I like that, Laura.
Laura wrote
Computer
on the chat.
was not letting me click. Hi, Laura Finney, ANC Commissioner. My husband is cooking dinner, so I probably will turn off my video while we're eating, but love the idea of Julian Bond. I grew up in Georgia, so the name is not new to me.
Great, thank you. All right, and Daniel, I'm leaving you for last because you're actually first up on the agenda. So if you introduce yourself and you can just lead into your item.
Happy to. Thank you so much, Cal. Good evening, mostly commissioners and some neighbors as well. It is so nice to see you all. My name is Daniel Ehrenpreis. I am not in ANC 3-4G. I'm actually in ANC 5F. So I'm within the Eckington and Edgewood neighborhoods. So joining you from there, from this part of the DC. Um, I am specifically the chair of our Public Safety and Public Health Committee. Our committee is strong but mighty. As of the last census, ANC 5F is one of the newer ANCs that have emerged from that census tract. So we're a small committee that does a lot of work around public safety, public health. Before I dive in a little bit about why I'm here tonight, just wanted to give you a little bit of insight into my background. So I am a public health professional. I proudly hold my master's in public health from Johns Hopkins University. I have an explicit focus within child, adolescent, and community health. I'm also a career community organizer. I've done organizing work all across the East Coast of the US, so places like New York State, where I grew up, Boston, Massachusetts, Baltimore, Maryland, with some city council work there around trauma responsive care, and across Virginia with some youth engagement work, which is really my big specialty. So tonight I'm coming to you with a request to review a resolution that ANC 5F has put forward and has passed and has been championing this resolution across the city. The resolution is entitled A Letter to DC Leaders to Address Gun Violence Through Coordinated Comprehensive Strategy, and having an urgent need for a coordinated, comprehensive strategy to address gun violence across the city. So, to give you the background behind this resolution letter, ANC 5F and ANC 6B in Capitol Hill and their public safety committee, especially with the thanks to Jody Kent Levy, who was the vice chair at the time, worked with us on creating a webinar with many other community organizations that focused on racial equity, especially as it relates to gun violence reduction strategies. So we created this webinar on November 14th as of last year, with a focus on gun violence prevention as the main takeaway. And three key themes emerged from that webinar. So first is there is a pretty big lack of comprehensive coordinated gun violence reduction approaches across the city, that we have a need for more leadership, especially around the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And we need more full staffed offices of gun violence prevention within the city as well. Secondly, is we need to prioritize and to fully fund violence interrupter programs as the public health strategy that has proven effects in many other cities, especially urban cities that match DC's demographic populations. And then three is there's a huge absence in public health approaches that are already mandated by law within DC, but are not leveraged and utilized across throughout a gun violence reduction strategy in the city. Another thing that emerged from this too, and I bet you see this within your ANC as well, is we have many neighbors that come to our meetings that are frustrated with the gun violence that they see in their neighborhoods, right outside of their homes, and want strategies and longitudinal solutions to reduce gun violence in their neighborhoods. So the comprehensive approach and this resolution really took form from that frustration and really from a lot of those community groups that we coordinated with on this webinar. So three main asks are within this strategy. So one is we want a citywide strategy. We want Office of Gun Violence Prevention, as well as the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, to really co-create a strategy that involves public health approaches, that involves community-centric approaches, and the evidence base being tapped into that as well. Two, we want it to be as equitable as possible. Inside the resolution, there is written that we would like the requirement of racial equity impact assessments across the city regarding any policy related to gun violence reduction strategies in this comprehensive approach. And third is to professionalize violence interrupter programs as the profession that they are. Violence interrupter units, as they are within the city, is very piecemeal. It is not located in all neighborhoods across the city, and it is not specifically targeted as well. It has not been professionalized the way that it should be, and violence interrupters are the key strategy in many other urban cities across the US in reducing gun violence in those neighborhoods as well. The last thing I'm going to mention, and then I'm happy to answer questions regarding this, is thus far, this resolution has been passed within 7 other ANCs. So to list those, that's ANC 1A, 1C, 2C, 2G, 5D, 5F, and 6B. With 4 more ANCs that are currently considering this resolution, which is 1B, 5B, 6A, and 4A as well. I would love to have this championed within your ANC because the more that we are able to kind of put this forward and vote on this as bodies of residents, the more that City Council as well as the Mayor's Office will look to this resolution as a starting spot in which we can start a comprehensive strategy that does seep itself in the evidence and public health approaches. There's a lot here, so I'm happy to answer any questions. I would love for you all to take a look at the resolution, and please feel free to reach out if you have anything that comes up. Thank you all.
Thank you, Daniel. 2 things. One is that I want to say what our role in this, because we can't pass resolutions. That's for our ANC to do. You want our ANC to do it, of course. So many of them are here on the call. They're hearing this as we're hearing it. But what we can do is we can make a recommendation that this be taken up. And we will do that through the lens of racial equity. So that would be the way we do it. And the second thing is I want to welcome Marilee to the call and Renee as well. If you 2 could introduce yourselves, that would be great.
I'm Marilee Jansen. I'm a representative of Northwest Neighbors Village on the committee.
I am Renee Turner Inman, and I'm a Hawthorne resident.
Great, thank you. Okay, Liz.
Thank you. Do I remember, maybe I'm misremembering, did DC have a violence interruption and violence interrupter program that kind of went by the wayside at one point? Seems to me I remember hearing about a program like that in existence in DC.
DC does currently have a violence interrupter program. It is run through the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. It's piecemeal right now, so it's not fully funded currently. And also those violence interrupter units are scattered throughout the city. They don't really have much of a comprehensive approach. They have to re-up their grants on a yearly basis as well with the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. And it is typically community run as well. So it's typically community groups and organizations that are focused on violence interruption, as well as building up those relationships within various sections of the city that are currently in operation. So it hasn't really run by the wayside necessarily, but it's just not lifted up as the strategy that it should be and given the full funding that it deserves.
Just follow up for a second. Maybe what I'm thinking of is violence interruption programs in schools. Is that possible?
To have violence interrupter programs in schools? Was that the question? I'm sorry.
Do we not have violence interrupter programs in schools? Do we not? Did we not? Did we not?
Sorry, go right ahead.
No, that was the end of my question. Did we not, do we not have violence interrupter programs in schools?
Anyone can correct me, but from what I'm aware of, we do not have specific violence interrupter units within schools, but we do have alternative programs that are offered within schools that help, especially for students that are traveling to and from school by foot. So that's not necessarily the full violence interrupter program that we're looking for, but we have seen in other cities, they have utilized programs that operationalize violence interrupters within schools as well.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, we pause and welcome Carl to the call. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, was that directed to me?
Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Carl Lankowski. I'm a member of the Raise Committee.
Great, thanks. All right, Lisa?
Yes, thank you. Daniel, I got 2 questions for you. And you're correct, we don't have violence interruption programs within the schools. But we do have legislation that talks about and works with safe passage, which kind of intersects the violence interruption program. And I don't know about each school or grade level, but I know like at Lafayette they have, and some other schools that my son attended, they have like peace programs and different programs within those schools that seek to reduce, violent interactions. But I wanted to ask you, Daniel, The budget, and I'm sorry about my GPS sounding off, but did you see the adjustments in the budget for violence interruption and the one program that was under, I believe it was Cure the Streets. I think they are moving that out of the Attorney General's office. Do you have any additional information on that? I just read about it briefly. And is that addressed or should that be addressed in a resolution?
That's an incredible question. DC being the place that it's at, violence interruption has been kind of wavered back and forth, whether it should be through the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement or if it should be through the OAG's office. And I haven't had a close enough look yet at where that lies within the budget, so I don't have the specific answer you may be looking for. But I've heard that they've been waffling back and forth whether it should lie within the OAG or AUNTS in particular. My perspective is it's totally acceptable to put forward language within this resolution to bolster it or in another resolution regarding having violence interrupter units be under the purview of one of those sections as opposed to two, just to ensure that it has the attention that it needs and the funding that it deserves from one force. So it's not going back and forth in terms of who's overseeing it.
Yeah. That's one thing I agree with and have spoken on. I think part of the breakdown in that particular ecosystem is that you have too many chiefs and not, a central point of contact. And I believe in past oversight testimony, and I'm particularly Council Member McDuffie had raised, and a lot of the council members have raised questions about that. So you're exactly right. It's very hard to hold anyone accountable in that space for the operation of the program because it's under so many different departments. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. And just to touch base on one point with that too, if I were to make a recommendation of which office it should be under, I would recommend AUNTS. If anybody has seen all of the information that's come out of Baltimore recently in regard to their violence interrupter units and their significant decrease in violent crime in particular, AUNTS was the major driver of that within Baltimore. So I would recommend that AUNTS would be the office for that personally.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have, I may have missed this when you introduced yourself. Are you an ANC commissioner?
Great question. I am not a commissioner. I am just our chair for our Public Safety and Health Committee.
Okay, great. Like those non-commissioner chairs. Okay, so are there any other questions or comments for Daniel?
No comment. Thank you for introducing this resolution to us. I love it. Be happy to sponsor it. And I do want to know, because a couple of the commissioners on here have talked about public safety. Commissioner Gosselin is not on here, but Commissioner Gosselin have worked really.
Hey, Lisa, your voice has trailed off. Your sound does that every once in a while.
Try to work with public safety issues along Connecticut Avenue. What are some of the things that your committee is working on right now, and what kind of approach are you guys taking?
That's an excellent question. So our approach is being as actionable as possible. So our committee has a three-arm approach to public safety and public health. Number one is education. So ensuring that our committee and any neighbors that attend our open meetings on a monthly basis are reading research articles or peer-reviewed articles related to safety or public health. And we make it even easier. You don't have to read a full article. Sometimes it's just an abstract or a conclusion. And then we discuss. We always take the first 10 minutes of our meetings to dissect, discuss, and see what other questions we have regarding public safety, public health, because we need to ensure that whatever we're putting forth to the greater commission is seeped in evidence and in public health community-centric solutions. So education is the first section. Number two is we always are looking at a resolution on a monthly basis. So our committee has identified a handful of very large scale, kind of multifunctional issues that are occurring across our city that we wanted to write resolutions about. So gun violence reduction is kind of our big effort that we've been looking forward to driving forth as a committee, but we've recently put forward resolutions on moped and ATV regulation because we're along the Metropolitan Branch Trail, which is a huge issue for us here especially, and in other portions of the city, of course. We've put forward a resolution on supporting the Environmental Justice Amendment Act that was sponsored by our Councilmember Parker in Ward 5, since we have a big asphalt plant that's along the MBT that we are kind of fighting against in this case. Most recently, we are crafting a resolution on place-based substance use disorder outreach as part of a amendment act that is being put forth in the DC Council. But we tie all of our resolutions ideally to a bill that is being considered within DC Council. So that takes me to the third arm, which is about advocacy and testimony. So we are teaching our neighbors about how to advocate, how to write their own resolutions, and then also how to craft testimony. So when we do pass a resolution within our ANC that has a bill attached to it, our next step is then to look forward to a public hearing in DC Council so we can all collectively advocate and provide testimony on behalf of that bill.
That's amazing. And you guys definitely got the right formula. I love it. If you don't mind sending me on my commission email, which is 3g01@anc.dc.gov. I don't know if you guys have we recess in August. If you guys got some upcoming meeting dates, I definitely love to sit in. Are you guys virtual?
We do hybrid, but we always offer a virtual option.
Great. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to sit in and talk to you about some other stuff down the road.
We would love to have you.
Thank you.
Of course.
So Daniel, normally I guess you would make an ask of us, but I think with Lisa saying she'd be happy to sponsor it, I think you don't necessarily need to. What's your feeling about this?
I'm comfortable either way. I always love to engage more members of the community to see what your perspectives are on this. So if all of you want to take a look at it, feel free. Commissioner Gore, I appreciate you being willing to sponsor this as well. So please go ahead and do so. We would love to have that. But yeah, all feedback is welcome. I want this to be questioned. I want this to be an open dialogue as well. But if we are able to get more buy-in from more members of incredible committees like all of you, I think it's very helpful for continuing to make the case for why this is a necessary resolution to bring forth. So it's truly up to you. Either way works.
What's your time frame on all this?
Great question. We are just continuing to chip away as much as possible. We have limited capacity since we are a smaller committee. So it's really up to your discretion. I would understand if you want to bring this forth after your hiatus in August. We are also going on hiatus as our ANC 5F. So if you want to bring this forth for a greater vote within your commission in September, that is absolutely acceptable. I'm trying to get as many ANCs as possible to join onto this. Hopefully by the end of the year, so I can continue to push forward to this. I know that DC Council is very heavily focused on budget right now, which is appropriate and valid. So by the end of the year is ideal, but if you can pass it in September or earlier, that would be great.
Lisa, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh.
That'll give me time too, and other commissioners time to think about it and ask questions and, noodle it out. So that sounds great.
Okay, and I put the link to the letter in the chat for all the other members who want to see it. But I think we got it forwarded to our committee earlier, about a week ago. So, all right, anything else, Daniel?
Only thing that I'll do is I'll just place my email in the chat. So please feel free to reach out. I'm always open to having dialogue and conversation around this. And again, thank you all for taking the time and letting me speak about this resolution. And thank you, Commissioner Gore, for being willing to sponsor this.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. And where's 5F?
5F is Eckington and Edgewood, so right above the Noma neighborhood.
We had somebody from 5B come last month about something else.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Daniel.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the postponed report on the Racial Equity Advisory Board. And I cannot for the life of me find those notes that were sent to me. Let me just say, it's a quarterly meeting and the next one's coming up next week. And I cannot do it because of another event that we're putting on. So I'm going to find out if any of the race committee members can attend that meeting. We'll probably do this over email, but I'm gonna push that item off to our next meeting. If there's no objection. Okay, the last remaining item is, well, first of all, we didn't discuss the agenda at the beginning. Is there anything that's not on the agenda that somebody'd like to bring up? Anybody like to bring up? We just want to have a moment of open forum here before we go to our last item. Nope. Okay. So the last item is to revisit the task force recommendations to discuss the next item that the committee should address. And we focused a lot of the energy on the first of the housing recommendations. But there's 20 recommendations altogether. And what Lisa suggested before several of this committee members came onto this call was that we discuss a framework for how to sort this out. We have the three categories of recommendations: housing, community, and education. And I think we talked about picking one of those categories and then sifting through them and figuring out which one we should do next. So I'm going to just open up the discussion. While you're talking, I'm going to go find.
Excuse me, Lisa has her hand up.
Oh, sorry. I was going to go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to actually address something on the resolution. So I wanted to say before you end at this topic, if you just give me like a few minutes to speak on the resolution that Daniel talked about. But on this topic, in terms of, I think, what we addressed, one of the things we talked about on the last meeting, and I know Brian is on the line, was maybe starting with community. It didn't have the most recommendations, but some of the recommendations for community might be relevant right about now when it comes to civic core, and particularly art and a space dedicated to maybe community members or representative of the community. So my suggestion would maybe be to start with that. It might be small enough that we can tackle it pretty easily. We already have recommendations in there. And we can maybe incorporate the one, Brian had talked previously about with Julian Bond. So I just throw that out there for consideration.
Okay, well, since you mentioned you wanted to talk about about Daniel's bit, since we just finished that, why don't you do that now, Lisa, so we can move on from there?
Sure. I just wanted, I'll sponsor it in terms of the resolution on the ANC, but the exit 46A on the right to Chain Bridge Road towards Tyson's Corner. Sorry. We still need work from the group to offer a recommendation based on the lens of this committee, which is the social equity framework lens. So the group still needs to prepare a recommendation to the ANC why the ANC should do that based on its lens. I will work on that based on, once we get that, then I would, agree to definitely sponsor the resolution, taking that into account. So, we can send out in our minutes, and once Corinthia and Liz come back, unless somebody here, volunteers for it right off the spot, we'll need someone to do that background legwork. And I'm sure Daniel will be more than willing to help in doing that perspective.
Yeah, we usually pick one or two people to go off and create a draft recommendation for us to consider, and then ultimately send to the ANC. Is there anybody who's on the call, any of the committee members who are on the call who are interested in diving into this?
And I don't mind helping. I don't want to take a lead, but I do think this is a good this will be good for the new commissioners, just to kind of see how we do this. But if someone, maybe you could put out Cal, someone else in the group to assist, I'm sure somebody will volunteer. I'll help them.
Yeah, I think we should I want to coordinate this through Corinthia and Libby as well. So let's do that. All right. Bruce, Marilee, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, you can send out an email, and several of us aren't here, so I mean, I would be willing to work with somebody else also on this.
Great. Thanks. Bruce, is your item related to this or something else?
It's to the next item, Cal.
Okay. So Brian, I put off the idea of the Julian Bond thing because there were only 2 or 3 of us, but now we have more committee members here, and we discussed it previously, and I thought there was somebody on the committee who was interested in working with you, and I may be misremembering this. So,
well, Cal, Renee Turner Inman, you met Julian Bond in our neighborhood several times, and he wasn't always someone that you were in complete agreement with about the ball field, for example, or about other things. But I think the fact that you knew him might be a good starting point in terms of maybe a member of the committee that might be willing to work with others. Cecily Abram, the niece of Morris Abram, the attorney that bailed Martin Luther King out of jail many times. Cecily is somebody that I have met and been in touch with who would be interested in kind of helping create funding for a place within the community center or library that might be more about culture and a safe place to talk about difficult questions that might be interesting for other members of the committee. And I'm happy to work with Bruce. Bruce has talked about introducing a resolution to the ANC that would kind of build upon the original resolution that dedicated a bench in Julian Bond's honor under Randy Speck years ago, or that was 2017, I guess, when that resolution was created. But it would be easy to kind of create one that was follow up from that. So I'm open to ideas, but I think, I think one of the things that came out of the 2019 resolution that created the Raise Committee was the idea of a place to talk about racial equity and kind of some of those conversations. And I will say, just a real quick comment. If anybody, now this is going to sound totally inappropriate, but Dave Chappelle, is a native Washingtonian. He's been controversial, but his Netflix, 2022 Netflix piece, I don't know if you've seen it, but does talk about his transfer from Eastern High School to Duke Ellington, and where did he go to practice his audition when he auditioned to transfer? Well, he went to the downtown library, the Martin Luther King Library, and he chose a piece by Mark Twain. Mark Twain, of course, a well-known 19th century racist, but it was Dave Chappelle's choice to talk about the judge's spirited wife, use that as a monologue, as an audition piece. I just think it's kind of ironic, but the intersection of culture and race is in many places. And having something that around Julian Bond. Julian Bond was a remarkable member of the civil rights movement, obviously founder of the Southern Poverty Law Center, but also represented Martin Luther King until Dr. King was assassinated. He represented Martin Luther King to the Georgia legislature. And then ultimately, um, when Bond's marriage of 40 years ended after he met somebody named Carmen, and he ended up moving here to Washington after losing to John Lewis in the congressional race. But I think there's a lot more to be said in the story. He was one of the original kind of influencers in explorations in Black leadership. A lot of his memories are at the University of Virginia, which Lisa knows well in terms of kind of um, uh, his legacy. Anyway, I've said too much, but I'm not sure who wants to participate in terms of the commission.
All right, well, thanks. Bruce, was your item related to this specifically, or?
No, I'm tracking on the agenda item, Cal. That
Okay, you're waiting for us to get back to the agenda.
No,
Okay.
that's fine. But I'm happy. Brian already noted this. He and I have discussed this at length. I'm happy to sponsor a resolution for the ANC honoring Julian Bond and the idea of carrying forward commemoration by way of the bench at the community center, whatever works for the community. We can work on that.
Well, I think what I should do is ask the committee, just like I just did, who would like to work on this, if anyone. Or do we do this over email? I guess we'll do this over email.
I'm hoping Lisa might be willing to work. I know she's busy. It sounds like she's got.
She went. She's having an MRI, and so she
Yeah.
just
That's
dropped
a hard
off.
one. Yeah.
Renee will work on it. I'll work on it.
Thank you, Dr.
There you go.
Hey, Bruce.
Okay.
Yep.
Excuse me, Bruce, I'm happy to co-sponsor that with you.
Okay, great.
All right, Bruce. Oh, Carl, is that related to this or related to the next?
Yeah, it's related to this actually.
Okay.
I have always been a fan of Julian Bond, and I think it's a great idea to find some way of working his memory into the redevelopment plans for the Civic Corps going forward. One of the things that I think we discussed at some point in the past, responding to Brian's point about a place to discuss things, is to have resources in that same place that relate specifically to the neighborhood. We don't have anything like that right now. The library has ditched what it had about 10 years ago when there was a partial restoration of the library. And I think these two ideas would be well conjoined.
Okay. Does that mean you'd like to work on it?
I'd be happy to lend a hand in suggesting some resources that that exist in paper form still, that are out floating around in the community that need a home. Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. All right, Lisa sent a message. She just made it to the MRI facility. And so she's off the call now. Anything else on this item? All right, Bruce, your hand is down again.
Well, no, I'm just, again, responding to the third agenda item, Cal, if you want to initiate the conversation around that.
Okay, so we are, like I said, we focused a lot of our effort on one of the 20 recommendations, and I've a couple of us have been pushing for a while to open it up to other ones as well. And that's the conversation we're engaging in here. Lisa suggested, and I couldn't quite hear what she was saying. She suggests we focus. She said, I think we should focus on that one. I don't know if she meant the community area or anybody catch what she said?
She said community.
Okay, she did say community. Okay, so community has 8 recommendations, if I'm not mistaken. Happen to have a slide presentation presented these to the ANC. This list them without any detail.
Right.
All right, let me put this up. This is from about 4.5 years ago, so I think it's worthy of doing a review.
So Cal, if I could just kind of jump in quickly on this,
Sure.
I've read the December 12th, 2022 memo about 10 times.
Yeah.
And I've tried to sort through the recommendations that pertain to the task to the committee or to the commission. And there are, as you noted, 20 recommendations over what, 12 pages. This is a voluminous amount of possible actions that the commission and or the committee, the race committee, could undertake. And so I think it would be very helpful while focusing on the next thing to do, also to take a look in toto at these recommendations that date back, as you say, to 2022, and get a handle on which ones the commission might want to look at or set aside, and then the ones that the committee would want to look at and prioritize, just so that we separate wheat from chaff and understand how to channel our collective efforts, both as a commission and the committee level going forward.
Yeah, I guess, and it gets into the December 12th one that you're referring to, that takes each one of the recommendations and says that we're to do this or we're to do that. Some of them we're to take this direct action on, some of it we're supposed to study more and get back to the ANC. That's the thing you're talking about, Bruce?
Well, yeah, the catalog of recommendations is that December 12th, 2022 catch-all resolution, which aggregated up to that point every individual recommendation made that the commission had also approved and put them all in one resolution and approved them again, basically. And it's a voluminous document, as you've all have seen. And so if you're, as I am, a commissioner looking at this and thinking about what is the docket, if you will, what are the possible actions that the Raise Committee could undertake, harking back to that resolution, there's just a lot of stuff in there to sort through.
Well, I mean, we have an advantage that, well, you said you studied this quite a bit. I would imagine that most of the commissioners have not. And we have reviewed them periodically throughout the 4 years. So we are, and some of them were turned into later presentations that were made. So it's not like this is old, something we have to dust off from, 4.5 years ago necessarily. Liz, why don't you?
I just wanted to clarify that I can only speak for myself, but I have looked at that resolution quite a lot. So I don't know about other commissioners, but I've looked at it a lot.
Great. Yep. So Lisa suggested when there were only like 3 or 4 of us on the call before we started that we may consider figuring out a framework to tackle this. I'd like to hear from some of the committee members about how you think we ought to go forward. You've
I
heard from
think it,
Bruce, you've heard from Lisa. Go ahead.
I think it makes sense to review them and prioritize and set some aside for whenever. I agree with Bruce's suggestion.
I agree also, Cal. Miss
Okay.
Maria.
Anybody else?
Carl's the only other one. Oh, Renee's there. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said,
I
Marilyn.
just said Carl and Renee are the only other ones on the call.
And there's me too.
And you.
Um, so, we have really 2 months till we meet again. Maybe we should do this, over the next 2 months. We come back in 2 months and say, here's what we think are the priorities. And then, get it really sharp and tight so we can figure out what we're actually going to do. I don't think going through and reviewing them in the next 10 minutes, which is all we
No.
have for this meeting, is going to get any
No.
traction. Yeah.
Makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm willing to work on that. Anybody else?
I will, Cal.
Mhm.
Okay. Did you raise your hand, Marilee? I sort of saw you wave it. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't, yes, I would do that. Mhm.
Okay.
And
I think we
All
should
right.
involve other Corinthia and Libby and,
Yeah.
others who aren't here. Mhm.
Somebody else is not here too. I can't remember who it is.
Ron. Mhm.
Okay.
Cal, did
Sure.
I
Yeah.
understand you? You said you were going to work out on this outside a meeting and have it ready for the next meeting. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, we're going to then present suggested priorities to the committee.
So you're going to have meetings outside instead of a public meeting, you're going to have private meetings to
Well,
discuss?
they're not meetings, they're just emails back and forth,
see.
just like you all do. We're not gonna, I don't think anybody wants to meet. In August, honestly.
Cal, just speaking for myself, I mean, I find the list of recommendations intriguing. I know they hark back to a time of various interests that the commission had, and maybe some of the recommendations are for activities that are no longer within the scope of the committee or the commission, whatever. We can take a look at it. But I find actually that list to be insightful and interesting. And I know the way this works is the committee proposes to the commission a set of priorities and the commission chops on that and so forth. I'm also happy, though, ex officio here simply to interact with anyone on the committee, exchanging ideas and thoughts kind of back and forth on things that would be of interest potentially. So just know that I'm happy to be part of any ongoing conversation that committee members would like to have. As I say, I've taken a long, hard look at that list, and there's a lot of, frankly, to do all that work would require a staff of a dozen people. I mean, it's a voluminous amount of material. And I just think that there's a lot of really good stuff there, a lot to wrap our collective minds around, if you will. And some of it, as I say, may no longer be valid given the course of events that have happened since those recommendations were developed. But just to reiterate, I'm happy to engage with folks kind of informally on this if that's of interest.
Well, thank you for the offer, and as the one who's sort of heading up this little project, sub-project, I may reach out to you for your thoughts on this.
Sure.
I'm particularly interested in what you think might not still be, relevant currently. I think
Right.
that's, yeah.
Well, one thing, again, this is not to do all this right now, but just off the top of my head, the recommendations that pertain specifically to the committee that are taskings, and they're stated as such, that the commission tasks the RAISE committee to do X, Y, or Z, right? those clearly fall in the category of raise committee, potential raise committee actions. Then there are recommendations that are there that are not entirely clear, but they seem to be for the commission as a whole to take up. And those are ones then that we could separate out, and then the commission could spend some time at a regular meeting looking at those, or whatever all of you think. I'm just sharing kind of thoughts off the top of my head. But there is a division in those recommendations between ones that are specifically at targeted or tasked to the committee, raise committee, and others that don't have that similar tasking, that are just kind of general, that, you know, we collectively want to take a look at.
Sounds good. So you're sort of visualizing a back and forth between the two bodies process. Well, you're not laying out a process, but you know, sort of a scheme that way. So I think when we figure out how we want to work with this, we'll definitely take those into consideration. And I would be very surprised if we didn't reach out to you.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day too, I think it's from the commission side, the 1, 2, 3 things that any committee, raise or any other committee, is focused on is what is of interest to the commission. So the commission has a kind of a clear sense of the direction of any given committee. But that's a process then of winnowing the recommendations that have come from you know, time back to 2022, right? So yeah, the end game would be to have obviously a clear sense of raises direction from the commission standpoint, but there are lots of things in there that you know, are, as I say, good subject of conversation in terms of what we collectively might do.
Great, and I'm interesting that you use the term voluminous. You can imagine what it was like to put them together. And we did 30 meetings in 14 weeks. It was insane.
Yeah.
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 Some subgroups were meeting twice a week. It's crazy. All right, anything else on this from the committee? Anything else on this from the commissioners? Brian, you're the member of the public here. Okay, well, we don't meet in August, so our next meeting would, unless something changes and, you know, causes us to have to change the schedule, would be the 3rd Tuesday in September, 7 o'clock. Thank you all for coming. And the meeting, we'll declare the meeting adjourned. We don't really formally do that, we just sort of end it, but 7:57. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Night.
Bye. Good night.